Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and yes, I do have my beardy McBearderson because I've been too lazy to shave. Today we are taking a look at Venom. Oh, Venom is usually a villain, but in this film he is pure hero classic. People might try to say he's some sort of an anti-hero. He is not. Venom in this film is pure 100% hero. Yeah, he does kill some people, but you know what? Thankfully, superhero movies have moved on to a point where the enemies can actually be killed. It's usually kind of silly when the villain of the week survives and, you know, he's put in space jail or regular jail so he can break out again and kill a bunch of people, you know, and so the hero has to fight him again. That's always so stupid. I like it when the villain is just, boom, dead. Iron Man 1 was the first film to finally do this, and it made a lot of bloody sense. So what about Venom? Now, Venom is a character that's been around for some time, and he's had a number of different incarnations throughout the years. I was, of course, first introduced to Venom in the Spider-Man animated series, and I thought he looked fucking sick. Although the term sick would not have been used back in the 1990s. He looked really awesome. He looked really cool. I mean, he looked like a demonic version of Spider-Man. In the Spider-Man animated series, he started out as a villain, but towards his final appearance became sort of heroic, and then pretty much died a hero. Which was pretty bloody cool, when you have a character with a design that cool, and a backstory that is generally fairly sympathetic. Now, in Spider-Man the animated series, and with various comic incarnations, Venom is supposed to be this symbiote from a planet of symbiotes who bonds with a guy named Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock can be sympathetic depending on the adaptation. In Spider-Man the animated series, he's really not very likable. He's actually pretty much a big asshole in Spider-Man the animated series, so you don't really feel that bad for him. And he generally acted very stupid in Spider-Man the animated series. So yeah, whether or not you feel for him or not, hard to say. Now, in this incarnation, Eddie Brock is really sympathetic, and I have to say this. I believe Sony has an Iron Man on their hands here. I believe that Venom, in many instances, is the Sony version of, well, Iron Man. You see, Iron Man was so successful and so well loved because the main character was cool and he was doing cool stuff. You know, in 2008, nothing like that had ever been seen before. Now, in 2018, the superhero film is pretty much formulaic, and it can generally be relied upon to make a lot of money because they know what the audiences want. The audiences want, you know, Iron Man blasting things with his repulsor beams. They want Captain America throwing his mighty shield. They want that, and they give it to the audience. They don't like to try to fuse it with a romantic comedy or whatever crap they did back in the 90s and 80s. So, while superhero movies are fairly dime a dozen these days, that doesn't necessarily mean superhero movies are particularly good. One of the big problems with superhero movies today is it's pretty much just the same movie over and over again. And that's kind of a problem. Now, you can, of course, make bad superhero movies in 2018 and in the modern era. One of the franchises that Marvel had on their hands that was actually pretty bad up until the final film in that particular series was the Thor movies. They were all terrible except for the last one. And the last one figured out that, hey, we need some actual humor and actual cool characters doing cool things. Really, when you get right down to it, superhero movies are about cool characters that you care about going around doing cool things. Captain America, you know, he throws his mighty shield. Thor, you know, is beating people up with his hammer set to Immigrant Song. That's why you go see him. Because it's supposed to be an hour and a half to 2 hours, to even 2.5 hours if it's good enough, where you just see cool stuff happening on the screen. The reason why Iron Man 1 was so good, and why I still hold that it is the best Marvel movie of all time, is because they were able to do all those epic vistas along with having great characters. You actually liked Tony Stark. He was very charismatic, had a lot of great lines, and there's a lot of great character in Iron Man 1 in addition to flying around blasting people with repulsor beams. What Venom does is that. It's got a lot of great character in it, and you also got Venom jumping around smashing people up. Because, well, a superhero movie is supposed to be about that. Alright, so, let me, before we get to spoilers, I do want to say a variety of things. Number one, I like that film. I liked it so much that I watched it today, and literally as I was coming back from the theater at a stoplight, I literally bought a new poster. I bought a poster for that film. Literally just off of eBay on my phone. Once again, that's high tech. It's like, can you imagine this? I'm going to go on a tangent for just a minute. Okay, here's a phone. Okay, this is a Palm Pilot, telephone, computer, emulator, everything is in this. And literally, I can buy a product sitting at a stoplight. All I had to do was type in Venom poster. I scrolled through some of the posters, hit buy now, and it bought it at a stoplight. In my lifetime, that would be sci-fi, but it's real. Alright, so, I liked it a lot, and I gotta say this. The trailer for that film was shit. When I saw the trailer for Venom, and I saw a number of different trailers for it, each one is crap. I mean, they are horrible. They do not represent what happens in the film at all. The film, it looks like it's supposed to be super duper serial. You know, you don't really get a good feel on the characters. It's horrible. Really, the best way I can describe this film is it's Iron Man, but made by Sony. There's a few differences from Iron Man, of course, but if you've seen Iron Man, Venom pretty much does what Iron Man did. It doesn't have the Whedonite dialogue that the later Marvel movies would have. It doesn't have really the hackneyed dialogue that you would see in a Sony film. It has that... The best way to describe it is the dialogue. It's Iron Man style of dialogue. It's intelligent and funny at the same time. The character of Eddie Brock is actually entertaining to watch, and you actually like Eddie Brock. He is a cool guy doing cool things. That's the most important thing about any superhero movie. You have to like the main character. And you like Eddie Brock. He's supposed to be a loser, and he does lose a great many things in the film, but he doesn't feel like a loser. He's not some kind of whiny weasel that he normally is. He's just a guy that, you know, he gets a little overzealous, and he fucks up his life. And you feel for him when that happens. And the best part about the film, really, is the Venom... Eddie Brock is still cool without the Venom symbiote. Just like how Tony Stark is still cool without the Iron Man suit. The Iron Man suit isn't Tony, and Tony isn't the Iron Man suit. They both have to work together. Venom and Eddie Brock have to work together. And it's less of a split personality kind of thing, and more of just a bro-ship. That's kind of what I want to call it. He's sort of like Eddie's, you know, big, dumb... Well, I wouldn't say dumb, but like, he's his bro. Let's just call it, let's just stick with that. He's his bro. He's not like, Eddie and Venom are not like combined, so to speak. They still talk to one another, and it's really hilarious, by the way. The dialogue and character of Eddie Brock is not in any way, shape, or form the obnoxious kind of humor that Deadpool has. In fact, I gotta say, I really liked Venom more than Deadpool 1 and 2. Just because I liked Eddie Brock more. I mean, Deadpool isn't bad by any sense of the imagination, but it's a very obnoxious kind of humor. Whereas this, let me put it this way. Towards the 3/4 mark of the movie, Venom it has already bonded to Eddie. That's not really a spoiler. And he's going to leave, and Eddie wants to leave a note for his boss. Because there's a phone with some pictures on it that is incriminating for the villain, right? And so Eddie writes down, do the right thing, and has like an arrow pointed to it. Then Venom makes him write, do the right thing, asshole! That's funny. It's understated, and it's something you'd expect Venom to say. Venom isn't psychotic in this film, as he normally is. Venom is instead, you know, he's very animalistic. He's very alpha, as they would say today, but he's generally not evil. And I really like that, because you can't really have the title character be, you know, evil or homicidal. He's just, you know, like, Venom will see, like, a dog, it's like, that looks delicious. But he won't actually, you know, eat the dog. That's cool, because it's like, well, that Venom, you know, he's incorrigible. The The characters in the movie are quite excellent. I'm pretty sure I'll be debated on that, but I can tell you I really like them. They weren't, cardboard cutouts. The relationships in the film are not juvenile as they normally are just in films in general. Eddie Brock in this film has a girlfriend who he ends up losing because of some of his actions, and she gets together with another guy, and Eddie and this other guy meet before he gets the symbiote, and the other guy is not an asshole to him. He's all like, yeah, I love your work, Eddie. It's like, yeah, how's it going, man? And he goes in the house saying, I'll let you two catch up. I love that, because it's like they didn't make him an asshole, because that's what a lot of movies like to do. They make the new guy the asshole, so when he dies, you're like, yay! He doesn't die in the film, spoiler alert, which I'm very happy about. The relationships are great, because they actually feel like real human relationships. And, the other guy actually helps out Eddie. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see something adult, The female character, I think her name's like Emma or Anna or something like that. Something fairly generic in terms of names. She's not a generic character. She's actually a legitimately, I don't want to say strong, independent woman, because that gets into SJW territory. She is a cool woman. Let's just say that. A cool woman. She actually does help out Eddie and Venom throughout the film. That actually does happen. And I really, really like that. In fact, you could almost, if you want to do like film school, it's like he's symbiotic with her, And I like to see that. I like to see it when, supporting characters actually do get to help out the hero and aren't completely useless. That's, once again, a callback to Iron Man 1. Pepper Potts in Iron Man 1, of course, helped out Iron Man on many occasions. I'll say this, though, I really do like this woman a lot more than I do Pepper Potts. Pepper in that film was really just kind of generic, She did help out, but she had a lot too many scared woman moments, whereas this chick actually, is pretty fucking tough. It didn't feel feminist at all. There's not really much SJW crap after the first 10 minutes of the film. And even then, the SJW crap that you see is just sort of in the background. Because in this film, Eddie is still a reporter, but he's more of like an internet reporter, I wouldn't say he's like Young Turks or anything like that, but of course he is like showing a protest that has a sign that says, resist on it. Yeah, you're going to resist by stealing signs? Good luck! But that's all you see. There's no real SJW crap in it. Outside of that, the main villain is all like, in a generation, the Earth will be uninhabitable. Really? Really? Well, I thought we were all supposed to be dead right now anyway, according to, Albert Gore. By the year 2010, we're all supposed to be dead. Evidently not, just saying. But, that's getting more and more common in films these days. That's easily ignored, and it's like, you can just go like, yeah, that's the villain. Of course he's going to say that to justify his own villainous things. The villain in this film isn't really inspired, but he's fairly charismatic, so that makes up for it. Generally, your villains aren't going to be that amazing. I will say this, though, on a Marvel note. Thanos actually kind of sold the whole villain thing. This guy really doesn't. There is a villainous symbiote, but he doesn't get that much development. He's just kind of there, and there's a few throwaway lines for him. The film, it doesn't feel rushed, but it feels like they cut out a lot. Now, I do know they cut out, I think, 20 to 40 minutes of content. I'm not sure if they put it back in, if it's going to make the film any better, or if it might drag the pace down a little bit. But the villain in the film, he just kind of, it's very much at the very, very end of the film. I would have liked to have seen, even as I was watching it, and I enjoyed it a lot, I would like for there to have been a little more build-up to the villain. Iron Man 1 did this very well. You saw Obadiah Stane all throughout the film, and you knew there was going to be a final confrontation, whereas this, you get a little build-up here and there, but not much. I think maybe it was built up in some of the cut content. It's not that bad, because the throwaway lines do set him up. Venom is all like, yeah, he's like the team leader. It's like, okay, it's the bad guy leader. You get it. I think the film is like, here we are in 2018. You know the bad guy. Let's just go fight him. Venom itself as a character, as I said, was very animalistic, but he's actually really funny. He is really funny. In addition to wanting to eat dogs, he does call Eddie a pussy at one point. I'm not going to tell you when that line is because it's really funny. The whole bromance between Eddie and Venom is really great. I really would like to see, if they don't fuck it up, a Venom 2, but that's really difficult to ever have happen. I wanted to see more Venom and Eddie moments, and there just really weren't that many, and what we got was really quite funny and really quite good. So, there's that. Do I recommend seeing it? Yes, but if you can't see it in time, it's not going to matter if you have to see it on home media or not. It's not really a theater movie. Unlike with the Marvel films, it's not all about the sweeping vistas and more about character interactions. A lot of the fight scenes and things of that nature are very small scale, very kind of closed in. There's one car chase in the film that's actually pretty good. It's not a generic car chase, but it's not that amazing. But it's nothing that you need to go to the theater to actually see to get the full experience. So yeah, either watch it, like on Netflix or whatever the case may be. If you can make it to the theater, do so, because it's good to just see it there to say that you did see it. But it's not required. Alright, so now we are entering spoiler territory. So the film opens up with a space shuttle, burning up in Earth's atmosphere. It's not really burning up, but it's crashing into the Earth. They got the symbiotes on there, and it crashes. Crashes, I think, like in Thailand or Malaysia, someplace like that. And one of the symbiotes is able to escape. Now, we do get a throwaway line about a Captain Jameson. Now, in the comics, Jameson was indeed the commander of the shuttle that did have the symbiotes on it. So the symbiote escapes, and we get a cool shot of the symbiote, doing its thing, like killing a couple of people. And this symbiote that we see the first part of the film is the main villain of the movie, but he doesn't actually do anything until the very end of the movie. You just see him going from host to host to host, trying to get to where the other symbiotes are. And that symbiote's name, I don't believe, is actually given in the film. The only reason I know it is because I saw a random YouTube video on him, and his name's Riot. Quiet Riot? I couldn't tell you. He was not that quiet in the film. Okay, so we then cut to Edward Brock. He, of course, is an intrepid reporter, and, he's a really funny guy. And he's got his girlfriend and everything, and, he gets a job from his boss to go interview the villain of the film, who is part of the Life Foundation. Pure evil. Now, Eddie Brock is supposed to be this intrepid reporter that always is putting, corrupt corporate executives behind bars until he wants to do that for this one. But, the boss of the media place is like, they could buy and sell us easily. It's like, so just be nice. Which I'm not even sure they would do these days. I guess, CNN probably does stuff like that. But, it always seems like reporters today are just making shit up whenever they want to. And what's really funny is Eddie Brock does, of course, interview the villain of the film, and he gets thrown out because he asks too many questions and things of that nature. And the boss fires him. This is all in the first couple of minutes of the film. The boss fires him, and the boss is like, you can't make on him. Oh, wait, I actually skipped ahead a little bit. Okay, so here we got Eddie. He's going to go eventually interview this guy, but before he does, him and his fiance, go to dinner and have sex and all the rest. And she's asleep in their really palatial apartment. And he goes to her computer and basically snoops on her emails, which is really an asshole move. If you're in a relationship, don't do that. Allow your significant other some privacy, And he snoops on the emails and then uses what he sees in the email to blindside the villain of the film with some questions that Eddie should know but did because he snooped on the emails. Because, of course, the girlfriend worked for the company that the villain owns. And, that's an asshole move on Eddie's part. He should have respected her privacy a little bit more. And if she wanted to leave him just for that alone, you can understand that. What's really funny, though, is she ends up leaving him because she also loses her job because they figure out that, Eddie must have spied on her emails, and so it's her fault. And so she loses her job, and he loses his job. And so we cut to 6 months later. And, of course, Eddie is, in the gutter. He's stuck in a bar, getting drunk. And ultimately, long story short, he ends up going into the Life Foundation building because one of the scientists there doesn't like the evil experiments the main villain is doing. There's a little bit of a, I don't want to be a hero moment, but it thankfully doesn't last long. I kind of rolled my eyes at that. Like, come on, how many times have we seen that? He gets in there, and, of course, he gets face-hugged by Venom. And after that, pretty much, that's when the funny stuff starts. Because when Eddie gets face hugged by Venom, he like starts kind of really just wigging out. It looks like he's fucking high on fucking magic mushrooms, and so he goes around doing some crazy stuff. Ultimately, he hulks out as the Venom symbiote and kicks some ass. There's a lot of cool ass kicking moments, pretty much standard superhero fare, really. There's one slow scene where where Venom and Eddie talk, and it's a pretty cool little talk. I would like for it to have gone on a little longer. And the one thing I really like, one of the main things I like about this film, is the fact that everybody kind of gets it. You know, everybody kind of understands what the stakes are, and so Eddie's not like, what the fuck was that, or what do I do now? It's like he kind of understands what's going on once he realizes the voice in his head is actually, you know, an alien organism. One of the funniest lines, though, is like, Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, says, I forget what the exact words were, but it's like, I don't think he says he's got a symbiote up his ass, but he said something goes up his ass, which I thought was really funny, because, well, that's kind of where, I guess, Venom would have to be. There's some other funny lines with Venom and Eddie, where, like, Eddie's like, where Venom's like, you know, I'm kind of a loser on my home planet. The whole villain motivation for Riot really comes very, very late in the film, where Venom's talking to Eddie and is all like, yeah, we're going to bring millions of symbiotes to the Earth so we can take it over. You kind of mentioned that a little earlier in the film, maybe, you know? But whatever. The female character, of course, assists, you know, Venom/Eddie all throughout the film. Little bits here and there, like takes him to the hospital. And she never actually acts kind of wimpy. There's a scene where Venom has to fight the cops, because the cops end up getting called out on him, because, of course, Venom's kind of destructive. And Venom is just about to bite the head off a cop, because he likes to bite heads off of people. And even that's handled pretty hilariously. He's going to bite the head off this cop, and Venom and Eddie's like, we don't hurt cops! And Venom doesn't bite his head off, which I really, really liked. Because these days, people love to hate on cops so much, and thankfully that didn't happen. So what ends up happening towards... I know I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but I've already pretty much explained everything that happens in the movie in the non-spoiler section. I totally planned it that way. Towards the end of the film, Eddie and Venom get separated, because they're at this hospital where Eddie's former girlfriend and her new boyfriend work, and like they get separated, and then Eddie gets kidnapped, but Venom's able to escape. And Venom actually bonds with the girlfriend and becomes She-Venom. And there's actually kind of a hilarious scene where they make out, where She-Venom and Eddie Brock make out. It's actually pretty cool looking, and there's kind of a joke about that, where it's like, wait, was I making out with Venom, or was I making out with you? Oh, dear. The final fight is pretty good, but a bit quick. There's a lot of... It looks epic. There's a few dodgy CGI bits here and there. But overall, it's a nice ending, but it's very, very limited in scope. They were very, for want of a better word, kind of conservative with it. It wasn't like, let me put it this way, it wasn't like the fight in, you know, Infinity War. It was this massive battle. In fact, going back to Iron Man, it was a lot like the battle between... Actually, I would say it's even less than that. It's a lot... I'd say it's even less than Iron Man versus Ironmonger in Iron Man 1. I'd say it's really kind of funny. I think they might have cut out some of the bits of it. But it's literally just a final fight at this rocket pad. The main villain of the film gets bonded with Riot, and Riot wants to get on this rocket and shoot it up and, you know, go to the symbiote homeworld and bring them all back. And, of course, Venom wants to stop him. And, well, Venom actually becomes good throughout the film, you know, because he ends up just straight up liking Eddie Brock. And how could you not? Because Eddie Brock's a cool guy. And so they go to stop him. And it's just one tiny battle at the rocket base, and that's it. It doesn't really go anywhere after that or go anywhere before that. It's just Venom shows up at rocket base, Riot's trying to get on the ship, and they beat the crap out of each other. The fight's good, but it's very short, very, very simple. The film is very restrained in what it does. And I think that's actually pretty good because they don't let it go on over long. Some of those Marvel fights can really, really drag on. Essentially, and there's also one good part, another good part at this very end as well. Basically, Venom and Eddie are trying to keep, the female character from intervening because they're afraid she's going to get hurt. She basically is like, that's bullshit, and follows anyway, but she's not a useless idiot, and actually goes inside the rocket base, because just like in the comics, the symbiotes are, of course, vulnerable to sound and fire. And you know what? She knows this, turns up the speakers at the rocket base to wound Riot. And I'm like, yes, that's how it's supposed to be. She's helping Venom, just like Pepper Potts kind of did. Pepper Potts, the thing about Pepper Potts in Iron Man 1, it's a really stupid name, by the way, in Iron Man 1, is that, like, she does help out, but she's utterly useless at the final battle. So there's that. In this, at the final battle, Emma or Anna, or whatever the fuck her name is, actually does help out, and helps out in a really cool way. And I really like that. It's just, when you have a female character actually done right, I'm very happy to see this, because they seldom are. The final battle works pretty well, and actually, what I'd hoped happened did happen. The symbiotes get knocked off because of the sound wave, and the villain, whose name I don't remember, and Eddie Brock actually get in a fist fight, and Eddie Brock, as Eddie Brock, kicks the main villain off of this cliff. And it's not a cliff, but kicks him off the ledge, whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, because you want to see Eddie do stuff in addition to Venom. And ultimately, Riot / final villain guy gets burnt up on the rocket, and you kind of meant to assume that Venom dies as well, because, like, Eddie's falling and, like, the rocket's exploding, and Venom uses, like, a Venom parachute, but it's pretty obvious that he's not going to die. And the final scene, of course, has, Eddie and female character talking, and they're all... And it's a nice it's a touching little final scene, but you learn that Venom is still alive, of course. And there's a few cool, final, hilarious lines, and of course, Stan Lee. Stan Lee is in the film, and actually says to Eddie / Venom, don't either one of you let her go. It's like, fucking Stan, man. Stan's the man. I was really happy to see him in this film. I thought he wouldn't be in it. I thought he wouldn't, but he was there. It's going to be really sad when Stan finally, shuffles off the mortal coil. I mean, he's like 95, but he's a staple in Marvel films in and of themselves. Like, you just can't have a good Marvel film without Stan Lee in it. I was so happy to see that. I know Stan Lee did not create Venom, but it's still cool to see it, because, like, once again, without Stan Lee, we wouldn't have, the Marvel that we know and love today. The last scene of the film is quite good as well. Earlier in the movie, we were introduced to this Asian shopkeeper because, like, Eddie goes to this, like, Asian shop, because the whole film, I should have mentioned this earlier, but it doesn't really matter, is set in San Francisco, and for whatever reason, the streets are not paved with shit. I guess that's just the case in the Marvel Universe. But anyway, earlier in the film, we saw this Asian shopkeeper being held up by this Asian gang member. But Eddie, of course, before being powered, can't really do anything, and, he just kind of has to hang his head and walk on. Well, in this, Eddie comes out and transforms into Venom. Now, this is one of the scenes that really clinched this movie for me, okay? Venom is classic hero right now. It's like, don't you ever do this in this town again, because, like, he threatens to, like, eat his arms and legs and face and everything, and you think he's going to let him go. He bites his head off, and that's when the movie ends. I fucking love that! The credit scene of the film is, of course, Eddie Brock meeting up with Cletus Cassidy. Now, Cletus Cassidy is, of course, Carnage, one of the Venom villains. Well, not one of the Venoms, one of the symbiote villains from the Spider-Man universe. He's, of course, in jail and acting all creepy. He's played by an actor whose name I can't remember, but I recognized. He doesn't look skinny enough to be Cletus Cassidy, but yeah, I'll let it go, because I like that actor. And of course, Cletus is all like trying to be kind of creepy and also self-aware. And he ends with saying, when I get out, I'm going to create all sorts of carnage. And so, that was Venom, and I absolutely loved it. I like the idea of Venom sort of being Sony's new harder-edged Spider-Man. Because, you know, he kind of is, he's still, to me, he's still hero classic. So long as he's not killing cops or military members, he's hero classic to me. He's just a hero that's intelligent, you know. Batman beating up thugs, you know, yeah, it makes you feel good, I guess. But that thug's just going to get out of prison, and he's going to go right back to thugging again. So, yeah, I'm supposed to feel good about that? Now, keep in mind, some criminals can and do reform. I'm very well aware of that, but very few actually do. That might make me seem, you know, really right-wing, but, you know, I'm sorry. I just look at things pragmatically, and a lot of those thugs, when they come out of prison, prison is basically just crime college for them, and they just come out far worse than they were when they went in. I get the idea of, you know, the rehabilitative nature of corrections, but they tried that. It didn't work. You know, it just doesn't work. It's something that does need to be tried, but you have to recognize there are some people you just cannot reach. It's kind of like, you know, once again, you're leaving Cletus Cassidy alive. He's a multiple murderers, a fucking serial killer. He's gonna get out. He's gonna kill a lot of people. So I'm sorry, keeping him in space jail just isn't that good of an idea. But what do I know? I'm actually kind of looking forward to Venom 2, but there's a good chance they might make it really generic. That's one of the big problems when it comes to superhero franchises. They forget what made the first one good, and when anything is actually good, they want to homogenize it, they want to genericize it, so they can hopefully get that mass market appeal. So I can almost guarantee you that in Venom 2, yeah, he's probably going to fight Carnage, but he's probably not going to kill anyone. I guarantee you the female character in this is probably going to be gone. Probably the new boyfriend for the female character is probably going to die so that she can get together with Venom. You know, something like that's probably going to happen. What I would like to see, in all honesty, is she get her own symbiote. Because when she was Lady Venom, that was really cool. Be kind of, you know what I would like to see? You'd never see it, but I think it'd be really, really kind of interesting. And I think the audiences would like it as well. You have Venom be like this Iron Man kind of guy. You have the female character get her own symbiote and kind of like be his teammate. Maybe not necessarily a sidekick, but a teammate, while still maintaining that regular guy boyfriend who could, you know, be like the mission control guy. I'd like to see that. I would really, really like to see that. That's what I'd like to have happen. Like, they fight Carnage in one movie and kill him in one movie and then move on through the various rogues gallery. Because you could do that. You know, you'd have Scorpion show up. You could have... And actually, you can make him evil. I mean, you can. Now, for me, when I think of Scorpion, I don't necessarily think of a evil kind of guy. Because, once again, in Spider-Man the Animated Series, he reformed towards the end of the series, and he also ended up shuffling off the mortal coil in that series as well. A lot of the villains in Spider-Man either died or got sent to space jail, which is pretty cool. People like to knock Spider-Man the Animated Series because he couldn't throw a punch, but you know what? That's a small price to pay for the level of storytelling Spider-Man the Animated Series had. Now, I don't know how many properties Sony owns, but if you could make sort of like a darker, more edgy, more adult version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that might work, and it might be pretty cool. Because, like, don't even have Spider-Man. Leave Spider-Man out of it. Or maybe make a darker, more kind of tough Spider-Man. That could be done with the proper writing. But, like, I'm thinking like the heroes that... Once again, I don't know how many heroes they own. So, what I would not mind seeing is, like, Venom as, like, the Iron Man guy, Spider-Man as being a slightly more idealistic but still pretty rough around the edges hero. And then, assuming Sony still owns him, Blade. You could bring Blade in. Blade is just, no pun intended, as dark as Venom can be, you know? So you could have that. You could have, like, those three guys. That'd be really cool, actually. I would love to see that. Blade and Venom teaming up to fight vampires. I'm there. Oh, let's see. Anything else? I did see, this is still Marvel related, I did see the trailer for Captain Marvel. Can't say I'm really looking forward to it. Looks like they've taken the training wheels off of the SJW stuff. See, the thing is, as much as I love female characters, Marvel isn't doing it right. A female character should just be female. That's it. But Marvel can't do that. Marvel, of course, is different from Sony. Marvel Studios is what I'm talking about. in Captain Marvel, the trailer. It's like, discover her, and then it turns into hero. It's like, don't, her gender shouldn't even be a problem. It shouldn't even be a thing. It's like, it's Captain Marvel. Boom, you're done. You don't need to be like, she's a woman. It doesn't matter. The character should stand on their own regardless of gender. You know, it should. It's like, they don't need to bring it up like it's this big deal. The trailer it doesn't really inspire altogether that much. It feels way too like they're trying to push a message. You compare it to the Iron Man 1 trailer, you know, and then something else. It has nothing really to do with Venom, but it has to do with superheroes in general. I'm going to address it here. You don't really see that many charismatic female characters these days. And you don't really see sort of like a female equivalent to Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. You don't see that. You kind of saw that a little bit in the Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes films with the character of Irene Adler, but they lost her after the first movie, which was kind of annoying. The problem is you just don't really see charismatic women in films, and they exist. You know, there are some idiots who would say, women can't be charismatic because men wouldn't take them seriously. That's bullshit. There have been plenty of charismatic female characters, but they're all in older films. I think if you want to see a film with a bunch of charismatic female characters, really, and this is kind of funny, but it works. You look no further than the Charlie's Angels TV series and films. You know, I will admit, those are some guilty pleasures, the Charlie Angels films. They're really dumb, but you know what? They're fun. And you know what? There you go. You've got some really charismatic women doing very charismatic things. And I think if you're going to have Captain Marvel replace Iron Man as the face of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you need to have that character be really charismatic. And I don't get why they didn't hire an actress who actually had more charisma to bring. This is the face of one of the most successful film franchises of all time. Another charismatic female character is, of course, Princess Leia. She is very charismatic. She isn't just some sort of humorless block of wood, which is more or less what Captain Marvel is. Captain Marvel needed to get some funny lines. She didn't say anything funny. She didn't do anything really cool. She just was all very serious. And, you know, let's be reasonable. Marvel movies aren't meant to be that serious. I mean, yeah, Infinity War was pretty serious, but they're meant to be simple, light entertainment. That's what you want from your superhero movie. It's not supposed to be making some sort of stand on any sort of position. It's just supposed to be, once again, Captain America throwing his mighty shield and Iron Man flying around blasting people with repulsors. You're not supposed to be all like, this is serious. You must respect women. It's like, no. You know, Captain Marvel needed to be cracking a couple jokes here and there. Captain Marvel needed to be actually smiling, being happy, you know, something like that. You look at Tony Stark. He's always cracking a joke. He's always kind of grinning a smug grin. Why is Captain Marvel not doing that? That's one of the great things about Venom. He's cracking jokes, you know, he's making funny statements. There's great back and forth between, you know, Eddie and Venom. You know, that's the thing about Venom. To sum it all up, Venom is a superhero movie with character. It's fun. I absolutely love it. It is now, for the Marvel Universe at least, my second favorite Marvel Universe film. First one's Iron Man. This one's the second. With Ant-Man, a not too distant third. They're all pretty much close together. Ant-Man was great because it was really funny. Had a lot of great character in it. Probably my fourth favorite Marvel movie would have to be Thor Ragnarok. But Thor Ragnarok suffers from the same problem that most of those latter-day Marvel movies have. Is it kind of lacks any kind of substantiality. A lot of stuff happens in it. You can't really connect to a lot of the characters. I mean, yeah, Jeff Goldblum is great in it, but you kind of lose focus with him midway through the film, and there's just not as much character that as one would like. They're trying to do... No, they're not trying to do. They succeed in doing, but that's one of the trade-offs you have. They do too much in Thor Ragnarok for it to really feel that personal, I guess is the best way to put it. So, that is all for today, ladies and gentlemen. I am, of course, Generallotz. We are Generallotz, and we are going to wish you good Venom and good Ant-Man, or whatever, makes you happy. If you enjoyed my review of Venom, please consider subscribing, and if you can, please consider supporting me on Patreon so that I can continue bringing you these film reviews.